Deep in the ocean, an orca pod is on the hunt. But these aren't your average orcas. These guys are organized.
Marketing team, did you get those social media posts scheduled for the SEAL migration?
Aye, Captain. We even have an automated notification for all pod managers when they go live.
They use Monday.com to keep their teamwork sharp, their communication clear, and their goals in sight. Monday.com. For whatever you run, even orcas. Go to Monday.com to dive deeper.
Well, I don't see the point in waiting any longer. So let's bring her out. The star attraction, the one you came to see. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Miss Judy Gold.
All right, here's my question. Can you explain to people, you're a sort of a talent handler,
right?
And I don't think people realize that a lot of these people are so fucking mental and weird, and everyone yell at me for saying mental, woo, but that they have to, like, all right, for instance, I don't even think of myself as, but when I go do a show, like if I'm going to do Colbert or something,
right?
I don't bring my manager. I bring like my kid or my partner, Elisa. Like, I don't want those. It's like, go do your job. I don't need you babysitting me, but you would literally deal with the time they leave their house until they go home again.
Yeah.
You're handling these huge celebrities. So you don't have to name names. Like, what's the fucking weirdest thing that someone was like, I have to have this in my dressing room, or I have to.
Oh my God. There's so many weird things, and it's a whole team of people, as you know, that does this freelance world. It's not really part of the show proper either.
But
which is another thing.
You have to earn the trust of these producers that you're not
world.
Yeah. Cause you have secrets. Like, a lot of people are like, why the fuck is he talking about orange fuckface?
Right.
I think what people don't realize is, it's because he's the president and he's putting fucking kids in, like,
exactly.
This is a whole, I'm sure you have shit on so many.
Oh man, I could tell you some crazy stuff. And, I'm trying to think of one really juicy thing. There's so many bizarre things, and I don't want to.
All right. You don't have to.
Okay. There's so many there. I'll tell you.
I know.
We'll see each other in person.
All right, fine.
Can I tell you one funny story?
Yeah.
Okay. So Oprah Winfrey, I was her talent handler, right? And this was right after I got out of drama school. So 1996, the daytime Emmys, you've been there. And
I think I was at no, maybe the next one. All right. Yeah.
I was there with Rosie too. I have a great
yeah.
Rosie story when she got up and left because Montel Williams got the award.
Right.
But anyway, I'm there with Oprah.
I don't remember. Yeah.
I'm there with Oprah and I'm her guy for 3 days, and as we enter into the daytime Emmys and go down Radio City, down the main orchestra row to the front row, her big head security guy was like, listen, dude, once we pass that first mezzanine, they're going to realize that Oprah is in the house and we will get run over like Custer's Last Stand if you stop moving, even for a minute. So no matter what happens, you keep moving with Oprah down this row. And if you stop, I'm going to tap you in the back, right? So I'm walking, Oprah's there. All of a sudden I come to a wheelchair, and I'm like, what do I do? There's a wheelchair in front of me, somebody in it. He starts tapping me in the back. I got some human strength and was superhuman strength. I picked up this wheelchair and moved it to the side. And I'm like, I'm going to hell.
With someone in it.
Yes. And I said, I'm very sorry, ma'am. I'm just moving you out of the way. I kept walking. He leans down in my ear, goes, nice work, man. Nice move. We get to the front row. I get the intro to Oprah, which apparently doesn't happen all the time. This is Noel. He did a great job.
Right.
End of the gig, we get Oprah, her dogs, Stedman. We get them all in the limo. And he goes, you know what? You're the best we've had at this. I'd like to offer you a job with Harper. And I said, well, what's the deal? What would the job be? He said, you'd do what you did tonight. You'd be her advance guy and you'd travel anywhere she travels around the country. And then when we got here, you'd do the same thing. You'd bring her in. And I said, you know what, dude? I just got out of drama school. I'm going to be famous myself in a couple months. So thanks, but no thanks. And he laughed and handed me an envelope full of cash and was like, if you ever change your mind, man, And I'd have a yacht right now had I done that. But
I know. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
And that
welcome to
arrogance
the
of,
Noel Casler show.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, we all made mistakes. Okay, so you go from you're working and you're hired as an independent contractor, right?
Yes.
For each production,
Absolutely.
they're like, Noel, we heard, so and so loves you, blah 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 blah.
Right.
Okay. Then you start working at Orange Fuckfaces.
Right.
How did you get on Celebrity Apprentice? Because you were doing they needed you for Celebrity Apprentice, not for the regular Apprentice, right?
I did the live shot because the other thing about what I do, it's all live television. It basically has to be a live show,
Right.
with moving parts. That's where my specific skill set comes in because it's all DGA stage managers,
Right.
and they want to know the guy who's bringing them Madonna, when the Grammys are at the Garden.
Right.
They want to know who's bringing me her at 8:55. Like,
Right.
it has to be somebody that everybody trusts. So a friend of ours in that world got the contract to do the Celebrity Apprentice finales. They were going to do they did the first one. I was there at Rockefeller Center in Studio 8H where they do
Right,
SNL,
right.
So she, it was like a B-level gig. She's like, hey guys, I got this gig. It was kind of beneath what I did because around that time, I did the Super Bowl, all this kind of stuff. But she's like,
did the NBA too, right?
I did the NBA All-Star Game for like 15 years, which is a classy organization. That's like the top of the.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, that is. Ooh, I could tell you stories about that. That is like you haven't lived till you spend a weekend, an All-Star weekend with those guys.
Oh,
amazing, man.
Yeah.
And but anyway, so we did that kind of stuff, and this woman worked with us on those things. She worked with us on all that. It's a very small world.
Right.
And she's like, I need like a dozen handlers, kind of A-team guys to come in and handle this. It's a Sunday night. I live on the Upper East Side. I ride my bike everywhere. So I'm like, it's a 10-minute bike ride. I'll get a paycheck. And I wanted to see if Omarosa was real because I'd watched the show. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come. I want to see that.
Right.
Close, And I'd already worked with him in the 90s on the pageant. So, and I grew up in New York. So we knew who he was, and he was a joke.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize no one in New York voted for him because everyone knows what a fucking fuck. But wait, you worked on the pageants, but not in the talent capacity. Were you in
it was like a PA. It was helping out somebody who gave me that first gig actually at the Kennedy Center. And I came in and just getting paper, getting reams of paper, getting water,
So you knew Orange Fuckface.
Yeah, I saw him.
You saw him at like lining up the girls.
Exactly. And that was actually, it's a serious thing, but that was my first lesson in how powerful men get away with shit they shouldn't get away with.
Right.
The first year he lined up all the girls, inspected them, taking notes. Like it took an hour. He's checking their teeth. Like that's all real. And while that's happening, cameramen are standing around, grips, audio guys. You're paying union wages.
Right. And then they added it into the
schedule. The next year it was in the production schedule. So it wasn't a crew call until he was done with that shit. Probably saved him $100,000. And that was like, oh, they'll work around it because there's money.
People don't realize like every minute is fucking money.
Right.
Because when you have the crew and, they're all in the union and, if you're going to have them there, then you have to fucking pay for them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So you already know about Orange Fuckface and you're living on the Upper East Side. The Yvonne Cunt and all them, they all live up there, and
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a New Yorker. So you fucking get what we all knew and wish the whole rest of the country knew. Okay.
No. So, my friend got me the gig. I went on and did it. That's when I first saw him like crushing the Adderall and chunks flying out of his nose. It's where I saw he couldn't read because they had a cue card with arbitrage on it. And he stumbled over the word to the point that he flew into a rage, accused the script department of setting him up, stormed off set, went into the dressing room, the upstairs, if you know.
Right. Yeah.
Like the guest bed, dressing room, comes out, shit's flying out of his nose, pure insanity. And I'm like, this guy's out of his mind, but again, it wasn't that unusual a thing.
Right. You had already experienced this with all these guys. I know so many people who were on the show and I know for a fact what you're saying about his speech and, the shit he used to say. It's probably a lot of them won't say anything because, I guess the NDAs, but he is so disgusting on so many fucking levels. So when you experience this, are you like, oh my God, this is like 1,000 times worse than the worst I've seen? Like, this is a whole new level of, okay.
Yes, because there's a malignancy, the malevolence to it.
Right.
Like you see dysfunction in the music business and entertainment, and people are just trying to get out there and perform a song. And I worked with Whitney Houston when she was, going through some things, and most of the time it was heartbreaking.
Right, of course.
And but this wasn't. This was like, I saw his sycophants. He had like Felix Sater, who was like, was a Russian
and a pedophile. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And, as years went on, like we did it, I think 2010, we did it downtown at the Skirball Center.
Yes.
He had the after, and I was working with, I think, a mutual friend we have, because back then they had musical guests still.
Right.
So a singer that I've worked with a lot, she was on the show, and, we went to the after party, and that's when Jared and Ivanka came on the scene.
Yeah.
They would work this room and meet all these Russian mobster types. Because our like invited audience was like Russian dudes from like Bay Ridge and like chicks in fur coats.
Right.
In May, and you're like,
oh yeah.
Who are these thugs? And I saw that they were using the show as an opportunity to grift for the Trump organization.
It's like, I know people who went to, religious people, Jews, who went to a school like where Jared went. And so they all it's a small community, these Orthodox Jewish rich people who go to these famous, very highbrow, expensive yeshivas. And he was like known as like just a tool, not that smart, So you're seeing all this. And I know this is a question a lot of people have, and I'm not saying it to, put you on the spot, but like, you stayed there for 6 years. Right. What was the thing that kept you there?
Well, it was only the finales, right? So it was only a couple days.
Oh, so you weren't, so this wasn't a full time, right? Okay.
Right. I wasn't like having to change his diaper when he's doing a pop-up shop in Times Square with Little John and shit.
Right.
Like, I'm going in when it's Joan Rivers and cool people.
Right.
They brought back all the celebrity talent for the finale, and they would do like live hits and stuff.
Right.
So there was a lot of moving parts. It was like seen as an extra paycheck. It was like a bonus.
Wasn't your,
show. Right.
So did he know who you were?
Yeah, they did. I mean, because he didn't. He didn't. Like, he's not that smart, and I didn't talk to him one-on-one. He walks around like this,
Right.
Like, he's only thinking about who can I feel up? Like, who's the hot blonde in the room?
Such a fucking like Arrested Development.
Right. And
yeah.
He would wait in the hallway. Like, at the end, the last 3 years, we shot it at the Museum of Natural History, which
Right.
And like, that building, like there's like the IMAX theater and there's another, theater. So we shot it there, and then we'd have the after party upstairs. There's like an escalator and there's like a ballroom, and he'd wait out in that hallway till like everybody came in the after party, and then he'd get his security guys all around him, and he'd walk in like he was president back then. And we're like, dude, we just saw you on set 10 minutes ago.
Like,
you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, Tom Green doesn't care about you.
Right.
There's nobody in this fucking room who's impressed with you, or But those last 3 years, I was assigned to Ivanka and Jared, and that, on a serious note, that's where I saw that she was running the show.
Right.
Trump wants music to play when he walks in the room. He wants to get high, and he wants to hit on / assault women.
Right.
He wants what is instantly going to make him feel better because he's a narcissist and a psycho. They're like more playing the long game. And I saw that, I saw the way they make fun of him behind his back, and then she gets with him, and that whispery, sibilant-esque.
Oh, that I know. I watched that Conan. There's a episode of Conan where she's like, well, blah, blah, blah. And she has this sort of raspy, deepish. And then now it's like, my father and I fucking hate her. I can't believe that there was a point when fuckface, when it was like, he became president, and people were literally saying, well, at least Jared and Ivanka are there and they'll make it, and it's like, oh my God, they're fucking worse than him.
100%. And that's what I tried to tell people,
Yeah. you signed an NDA,
Right.
correct? I've signed NDAs too. I mean, they're really they're for protection of secrets, really, the way, especially like if you have a game show or something, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Don't
But
say who won. Exactly.
right. But these NDAs, like an NDA is non-disclosure agreement for anyone who's wondering why I keep saying NDA. Were his more specific, like you can't say a fucking word about anything, how I do my hair or,
Well, those that you're speaking of definitely are. Those are his personal NDAs. Mine was through the production company. So mine was more like the general one that you just said.
Okay.
Mine was Mark Burnett, NBC kind of, you don't say who won, you don't take pictures of the set and tweet them out, kind of general shit. The stuff that he had people sign when they like went to work in the White House and stuff, that was to protect those kind of secrets. Like, don't tell people I'm incontinent. Don't tell people like you're going to see me hooking up with a porn star.
Right.
It was the shit that Michael Cohen had to pay people off, and he'd pay off his victims and make them sign NDAs. So I didn't sign that kind of NDA. But even if I did, I would have said anything. I would have.
Right.
As soon as he locked up the kids in cages, I didn't.
That was it.
All bets are off. It was the Muslim.
You know what I wanted to say to you? You after this all ended, but I want to go back, but I just want to say this now that I have it in my head, but that you became a stand-up comic so you could tell the story in a way. You're using comedy to tell the truth. And I just have to say that's what great comics do. They speak truth to power. And I feel like you doing that is the ultimate speaking truth to power. And so I give you kudos for that because, people get on stage and they're so full of fear. I'm going to insult this or but you think about the comics that were censored and it was because of it wasn't, Lenny Bruce wasn't, he was censored for cursing, but it was really the substance of what he was talking about. And same with George Carlin, it was the truth. And so you really you are an example of speaking truth to power. So mazel tov on that.
Couldn't get a bigger compliment than that.
Hey now.
Can I say one thing along this line?
Yeah.
It was the 92nd Street Y. My partner's Jewish. We live on the Upper East Side. We would always go to the 92nd Street Y. And Judd Apatow was given a talk right after Trump got elected. And I was just kind of like, I'd always wanted to do stand-up, but I didn't go into it for just to become a famous stand-up or something.
Right,
I mean? It was like you said, I was sitting there and I was like, I'm going to be the Woody Guthrie of comedy. And I'm not equating myself with Woody Guthrie.
Right. I get it. Yeah.
I realized like a song wasn't going to cut it. By the time you wrote a song about this shit, he's done 15 other horrible things.
Right.
I recognized the immediacy of stand-up comedy as the best way to speak truth to power. And I knew, like you alluded to before, that he was a bully. And what he really feared was the truth about himself.
Right.
So once I connected those two things.
Which is why he couldn't deal with the White House Correspondents' Center. Because, there's truth in every great comedy. There's a bit of truth or all truth. And he just, look, if someone took the time to write a joke about me, like to me, that's the ultimate compliment. If SNL is going to fucking do a skit about, I'm like, oh my God, I made it, But for him, this fucking coward, narcissist, dumb fuck, I fucking hate him.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
I want to now go over some characters in the fucking orange fuckface. Michael Cohen, who actually our sons played basketball together. So I used to see him at the basketball games, but he would always be on his phone in the corner coming in and out. He denies all of the drug use and shitting in the pants. Why do you think that? And he still does. Why? And people do say that that orange fuckface is afraid of doing drugs, because it'll make him, not have control.
That's a self-created myth. Trump has done cocaine, speed, all that shit since the 80s.
I mean, hello. When
you don't have to look
Twitter,
far.
yeah.
Right. Adderall is his maintenance high. He sniffs that when he has to read shit. That's what he does to feel.
And the Sudafed in the drawer.
And I'm the guy who pointed that out, right? I'm the guy who first pointed that out. Yashir Ali retweeted that famous Cinco de Mayo. And I said, look in that fucking drawer.
Yes.
He would eat them like candy back then because his nose was so stuffed up. That got other people made memes out of that, and they got it twisted. I was pointing it out as like contraband. It's like a of paraphernalia. It's drug paraphernalia, something you use in context with regular inhalants. He also has a big patch on the side of his nose where he had a septoplasty.
Right.
He also sent in Keith Schiller and another bodyguard to Harold Bornstein's office.
Yes.
To steal his medical
take
records
all his medical records.
As soon as he got elected. He didn't do that because he has high cholesterol.
Right, right.
I live on the Upper East Side. Rest his soul. He just died mysteriously 2 weeks ago, Harold Bornstein. Nobody knows how or why. His family caught him up ed. But that guy was a Dr. Feelgood on the Upper East Side.
Right.
Sued for overprescribing housewives on Park Avenue, blah, blah, blah. It's not just me. There's dudes who cut lines with Trump, okay? And I don't even care. If you can do your job, I'm not like, woo, you do drugs.
Right.
Why I pointed it out was because active addiction is a mental illness that makes you think about only yourself. It makes you live in resentment and self-centered fear. And that's the most dangerous thing to have in a leader. So that's why I pointed it out. I've never met Michael Cohen. I never saw him backstage at Celebrity Apprentice. I know he had some kind of title on it because he did. He worked with him for 11 years. I know he cut checks to pay off the people he assaulted.
Yes.
But he wasn't like his body man, like he said in his book. That was Keith Schiller, right? So one of two things. Michael Cohen, never could have witnessed it. What I believe further probably is that he still owns taxi medallions, New York City taxi medallions. He wouldn't want to admit to being around drug use after the fact.
Right.
And I don't think he's as anti-Trump as he comes across. He's
really.
I don't think he likes Trump, but he's got a podcast now. He's got a book.
No, I know.
He's like, I'm a media star. I never took a dime for this shit, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm no hero, but I didn't sell a book about it.
Right.
I didn't say, here's my GoFundMe or here's my Patreon page. Here's, and I got offers. I didn't take anything. And I want people to judge for themselves. You can see it as president. You could see the chunks flying out.
Oh, please. I mean, there were so many, videos and this, whatever. I hate him so much.
I know it's true. I don't have to prove it to anybody. And I want people to make their own decision. But people ask me that all the time. I'm like, I don't know why he's not telling the truth about it. He either doesn't know about it or it makes it's better for him to not
the brand
than it is because you were around it. He also... Michael Cohen, I'll say one last thing. When Trump got elected, Michael was the guy who flew around to corporate headquarters and said, you better pony up some money if you want to do business with the Trump administration. He went and shook down corporations when Trump was president-elect. If Trump had brought Michael Cohen to Washington and given him a job like Michael wanted, you think you'd be hearing from Michael Cohen right now?
Yeah, true.
He would have been his head enforcer for 4 years. He got boxed out and he looked for his next play. And that was, let me write a book. He talks about a podcast. Like, to me, that's...
I know. I feel like, he comes out of jail. I don't know. He seemed very sincere during the hearings. And his face lends to this sort of, he has that sort of face where the eyes come down, puppy doggy eye thing. So he can sort of play that. All right. 2, Mark Burnett. Now I feel like Mark Burnett is responsible for the Trump presidency. I mean, there's other people I feel that are responsible in other ways, but I feel like he truly is the one who's the most responsible for creating this sort of monster.
100%.
And that Roma Downey, his wife, is Miss religious with the what was the fucking show she was on with the
Saved by an Angel.
Yeah, Saved by an Angel. I was always like, oh, and the God and the Jesus and God and Jesus. And it's like, you're married to I fucking don't get that. Wait, you think you're so fucking pious and religious and you're this guy's a fucking piece of dreck shit,
who was a mercenary. You know, he was British Special Forces. He was on his way to South America to basically kill black people in Guyana and stuff, you know, when he stopped in Malibu and became a nanny. You know, he got off the plane in LA.
Mark Burnett. I was talking about Trump.
Mark Burnett. So
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Special Forces on his way to South America, takes a stop in LA, becomes a nanny in Malibu, realizes like, hey, there's something to be had here, becomes a reality show producer, makes a fortune, you know, off of Survivor and stuff, then goes to Russia and says, I want to do a reality show.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry. He goes to Putin.
Goes to Putin and his people and says, I want to do a reality show on the Mir space station. They say, no, you need to do one on Donald Trump in New York, our guy in New York. And they send him to New York City. And that's where The Apprentice came from. The genesis of The Apprentice was him getting
come on, there's something with Putin. I mean,
and New Yorker did excellent reporting on
right.
This.
Yes,
Again,
on
don't
that.
take my Patrick, somebody Irish last name, wrote a great in-depth deep dive on this. So this is facts. Comes to New York, does the thing on Trump. My friends were on that crew on the original show that was like 94, you know,
right.
like audio guys and reality.
Yeah.
And when they showed up to shoot it, like the couches were threadbare in Trump's offices. They had to rent furniture to make him look rich. Because the other thing is, Trump organization was like a mom and pop shop. You know, there was like 12 employees and 3 of them were his kids.
Right.
It wasn't this massive empire corporation. It was a small real estate company with admittedly large holdings and a huge ego footprint, but it wasn't this Fortune 500 company, you know, with 1,000 employees like he pretended it was.
Right.
And so Mark helped him rehabilitate that image. And like you, being a New Yorker, you thought everyone knew this guy was a con.
I know.
Right? But in Middle America,
he didn't even win in his polling station.
Right, exactly. But in Middle America, they really didn't know the guy.
Right.
And then they thought he was like this businessman. And Mark edited all that shit. Like Trump would show up an hour a day. Like they'd be
right.
And he didn't know what was going on. They would tell him who was going to be the winner. Like he wasn't deciding unless it was a black woman. Then he's like, I'm not picking her, which he did with Holly Robinson. But or even Kwame Jackson. And that's the other thing. He used the N-word all the time. My buddy taped him going on a tirade, like vicious tirade about Muslims and the S word and the N word to describe Latinos and blacks. Like crazy.
Do you think those tapes will ever be released?
No. And I know they exist, but no. He's gotten away with it now. I don't think Trump will even be going to jail like everybody's hoping and wishing.
I know. Okay. I need to know more about some other people in his fucking. Did you ever meet Jeffrey Epstein?
No, I saw him a lot. I never spoke with him, but he lives down this. I live off of Fifth Avenue in the 90s. I shouldn't say where. He lives in the 70s. He lives on 71st.
Well, he doesn't live anywhere anymore. Yeah.
And I have business in that neighborhood that I would go to all the time. I'd go to a meeting there right around the corner a couple times a week. Where, if you know where the Ralph Lauren is on Madison, there's a church there that I'm a frequent guest of, you know? And so I would ride down his block all the time. And you would see him, like he bought that, I don't know how deep a dive you wanted to do, but you know, the Koch brothers live at the other end of that block, between Park and Madison. So Epstein was a figure. And I would see Ghislaine, Jeffrey, Trump, Melania at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame all the time. Because back in the 90s and 2000s, we did it at Waldorf Astoria in a ballroom. It was like an inside baseball event. Rich guys would buy a table and bring their corporate, you know, their finance bros to see like Queen get inducted.
Wait, how about how bad the sound is in that room?
I know.
Waldorf. It is the worst fucking sound. I've done so many gigs there and it is notoriously shit sound.
Exactly. Well, you know, exactly where Bet has Hulu.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was an inside New York thing. And you would see him all the time. I would do another show called The Angel Ball, which is downtown and Cipriani's. And she was always there. And Trump was, you know, Melania was with her. Trump was with her. Trump was his customer, you know, and he wasn't just like Trump trained Epstein, in my opinion. You know, Trump was like, I tell people this, if you look at that clip at Mar-a-Lago, when Trump says something and Epstein's the guy who doubles over, embarrassed, it's Trump who grossed out Jeffrey Epstein.
Right. Oh, I watched that so many times, and it's just so like, because when I was researching my book, and it's like people like Orange Fuckface and Jeffrey Epstein, like the only time they laugh is that it's someone else's expense.
Exactly.
So, and that is like a perfect example of the only time he can laugh is if he belittles or just says something horrible. He's a fucking piece of shit. Okay.
And think about what you must have had to say to make Jeffrey
Epstein gross out.
Dude,
yeah, like, whoa, yeah.
The guy was paying 8th graders to jerk him off every day.
Yeah. So Bill Barr, his father was was he the principal at Dalton, I think?
Or a teacher at Dalton.
But then the father but he hired Jeffrey Epstein to
I thought you meant Jeffrey. Bill Barr's father was the headmaster,
principal, whatever.
Which is a powerful position.
Yeah, and he hired Jeffrey Epstein to be a math teacher, even though he didn't even have a degree.
He didn't have a college degree. He went to Cooper Union, took a few classes, but didn't have a degree. And you're from that world. Like, you're paying $50,000 a year.
Right.
And, my girlfriend's mom was a teacher then, an art teacher at the school at the same time. Like, you go into Horace Mann, Dalton, these places, so your kid can be guaranteed college, and he's getting taught by like a 24-year-old playboy.
Right.
And he was his wingman.
Right.
They both left under a cloud of suspicion. NDAs were involved. Families got paid off. As you know, or maybe you don't know, but Bill Barr went to Horace Mann at the same time. There was a big class action suit, 67 to 90. So there's a lot of bad shit that went down in those prep schools, and money gets paid out and people don't hear the facts.
Yeah.
By the early 80s, after Bill Barr left in disgrace, he's teaching at the Hackley School up in Westchester. I used to go to their proms. I had girlfriends there. And he was Chester the Molester. That was his nickname.
Oh, he's so fucking, they're all, ugh. And by the way, my kids went to public school. Okay.
Me too. Proud to go to public school,
Yeah, they're all intertwined. And I hate Bill Barr so much. I fucking hate that. He is the worst.
He is the worst, and he completely covered that up. There's no question in my mind that he didn't have a hand in Jeffrey's death. Jeffrey built a replica of his father wrote sci-fi novels about having teenage space sex slaves, and there was like a sex temple on a book cover. He built a replica of that sex castle on his private island. Jeffrey Epstein did.
Fucking piece of shit.
This week's episode of It's Judy Show with Judy Gold is sponsored by BetterHelp. And if you know me, which I think you do because you're listening to my podcast right now, you know that I am a big advocate for therapy. I think it benefits everyone. I think there's so many people who need it, who don't partake. It is so important for your emotional health and well-being. Therapy is fantastic. It is in every stretch of the imagination. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, please do it. But please give BetterHelp a try. It is entirely online. It's designed to be convenient. It's flexible. It suits your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. I have switched therapists in my life. I've had many, many therapists, and sometimes it's not a great fit for you, but don't give up. Therapy is beneficial. You can learn about yourself. You can process and just be emotionally healthy. I'm telling you, do it. BetterHelp is great because, when I used to schlep to my therapist's office, it was so annoying. You have to do it and you sit there and you wait. And then I'm telling you, doing it online is fantastic. And BetterHelp is amazing. I know a lot of people who've used it. So if you're thinking about therapy, go to BetterHelp.com. Let the gratitude flow. This is Gratitude Month, people. So you need to let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/JudyGold, JudyGold, today, and you will get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/JudyGold. You're welcome.
Okay. Martin Shkreli, the other biggest scumbag in the world. You encountered him.
at an NBA All-Star game in Toronto. And I'm walking, we're staying at like this fancy hotel across from the arena. And I'm walking back in, from rehearsal or whatever. And you have those circular doors.
Yeah.
And I get in one and right across from Martin Skrillex. And I'm like, I know you. And I can't figure out where I know him from. And he locks eyes and sees my wheels turning. And I walk in the lobby and turn around and he's looking at me outside the glass and he sees me realize and my face like fall in disgust.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, bro.
I
He's like,
hate
it
him.
is me. I was like, oh my God.
He is the ultimate and entitled fucking fuck. He is sick. He is sick.
The New York Times interviewed his jury when they were doing jury selection.
Uh-huh.
They would show a picture of him to these potential jurors and they'd be like, I don't know what he did, but I don't like that dude.
Yeah, right.
Like people's visceral reaction was like,
Yeah.
nah, man, he's guilty. And they're like, we didn't even tell you what he did. He's guilty.
Okay, I have some questions regarding your NDA.
Okay.
You don't give a shit, correct?
No.
And
It's
have
not like
they
I
come
wanna
after
get
you?
sued.
I mean, there's a lawsuit. I saw some sort of thing online, but they haven't come after you. And I've heard you say it's because, I mean, they're not going to get any money out of you.
Right.
And they would have to
I don't have
defend the fact that, they would have to defend themselves and say, no, that's not true. That's
Exactly.
not true.
I'm right. I'm telling the truth. I'm telling you what I saw, and like my colleagues didn't want to speak out because they didn't want to lose their careers. They didn't think he
Right.
was going to get elected. There's all this, they were contacting all of us in 2016. I did speak out then to the New York Times and Hillary's campaign. My colleagues were like, well, he's not going to win and I'll never work again. We know he's a scumbag.
Right.
And my position was like, there'll be no industry if this guy's president. And sadly, I was right. Like they
Right.
shut down my industry. I haven't worked in years, like in that business. So there was no moral choice, but the truth will set you free. Like Trump got away with being who he was because people are like, he's rich and powerful and he'll sue you. Don't talk about the fact that he's assaulting women all the time.
Right.
Because it was more secret. I mean, I didn't know the extent of it when I worked with him or I would have quit then.
Right.
It was the reporting that came out after, and then we all started talking and then I heard more stories from within my industry. And I was just like, I can't believe nobody spoke up on this guy
Right.
for so long. And, he's president. All bets are off, Yeah.
You were the Javits Center at HRC's the night she lost.
My colleagues were there. I was actually
right.
up here in my country, but they were texting me. And they're like,
Texting you
"Lady
that
Gaga,"
everyone was like
crying.
Gaga crying. Like they're all, I mean,
Katy
I cried.
Perry.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. It was awful. It was awful.
Awful.
And it's fucking, he didn't really win.
No, he didn't. And that's what Jared did. Jared was the guy.
Right.
When I said earlier about how they were like the brains
Right.
behind it, Jared was the guy who set up the back channel with the Russians and got his buddies that he went to Harvard with in Palo Alto and said, how do I micro-target people on Facebook?
Right.
How do I find a guy in Michigan who voted for Obama, but he listens to Kid Rock and he owns an AR-15?
Right.
How do I find those guys? So Kushner was able to get that information, funnel it to the Russians, who then bombarded these people with misinformation, with
Right.
psychological propaganda that said Hillary Clinton has a sex,
Right.
pedophile operation in a
sex
pizza
ring,
shop.
yeah.
And it worked enough to flip 77,000 votes. And that's all he needed. 3 states, 77,000 votes is why he's president,
Fucking hell. What do you think Putin has on him?
Oh, I think it's all the years that they had brothels in Trump Tower. And I think Trump had a frequent flyer pass. A lot of friends I have who know more about that situation than I do. But everything I've seen leads me to believe it's correct, that he has very violent tendencies.
Right.
The situation with the 13-year-old girl in Epstein's house, I believe beyond any doubt, she's telling the truth.
Yeah.
Right. If you know Trump, that's how he talks. If you listen to E. Jean's thing, that's how
I
he
love
talks.
E.G. Carroll. Yeah.
Me too. He's a hero. She's going to take him down ultimately.
Yeah. I love her.
So I think Trump, me too. And I think Trump had, I think he went to those brothels all the time and he would always get compromise on other people. That's how he got his business deals done.
Right.
He'd get building permits and shit because he'd have these guys come party at the plaza and they'd hook up with a Russian model who he imported with Trump model
Right.
management.
And then he'd have something on them.
Right.
And,
They'd do coke and then he'd call him up the next day and be like, how'd you like that blowjob last night?
Right.
You want your wife to see the tape? he's too stupid to think they'd be doing that to him. I think Putin was collecting that for years. And I think when he had that first meeting in Helsinki, where he basically stole the notes from the translator.
Yes.
I think Putin pulled out a laptop and was like, here, remember this one? Remember Svetlana? Whatever. Remember this girl? And I think he just showed him years of his very violent sexual encounters. And I think, because if you watch Trump when he came back onto the stage from that private meeting, he was like Reek.
Yeah.
He was crestfallen. He was slumped over. I'd never seen that guy walk like that. At the most of his thing, he's still always walking with his chest out. I'm the man. He was not the man. He looked white, like he'd seen a ghost. So that's what I think Putin has on him. It's not just a P tape. I think it's much more.
Oh, yeah.
violent.
I agree. I agree. Do you get death threats?
Yes.
And are you scared?
No.
I love that.
And I'm not a fool. Like, I'm not going to, I'm not going to go to a bowling alley in Ohio and be like, I'm the guy who talked about Trump on Adderall, you rednecks,
Yeah.
But I'm scared for my country. You and I were messaging, the day the Capitol was attacked. Like, that's what I'm scared of. I worked on Capitol Hill too. We didn't cover that, but I was a bike messenger up there. I worked for the Congressional Budget Office. That felt like a violation. That was
to me, what? Yeah, that's right. Because I couldn't, I was thinking my parents, God rest their in peace, whatever the fuck. My father went to Europe during World War II for this shit. Like my uncles, this is not, and he fucking egged it on. Like, he loved it. He was probably jerking off to it.
He definitely was. He definitely was. And he said he was marching with them. He said, I'm going to be marching.
I know. He just lies. And I mean, the evidence is, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. This is a part 1 and part 2. Have you heard from anyone in that family? Okay.
No.
Or no. Okay. Part 2. Is there anyone that reached out to you that you were like surprised that was like, thank you, or,
Yes. Yeah. There was somebody who, and I can't verify this, there was somebody who claimed to work in the White House who was a medic. He was a pararescue guy or something in the Air Force who had been assigned to the White House. And a couple years after my revelations came out, he said, thank you for speaking out. We've all witnessed this stuff. There's more to what's going on with him medically than we've seen, especially like the Walter Reed trip, when he comes running out the side door carrying his file or whatever. Like, Trump doesn't carry anything himself.
Right.
So that alone, that he runs out and hops in an SUV and they take off to Walter Reed on a Saturday afternoon.
Right.
2 weeks after he'd been in Madison Square Garden with his old buddies slapping him on the back. And there's some thinly veiled stuff in there, but his old buddies that were around at the Apprentice that might traffic in certain substances that you can sniff, 2 weeks later, he's rushing up to Walter Reed with some kind of event, right? So there was guys that reached out to me and said, like, I have, HIPAA things and all kinds of NDAs and all kinds of stuff. I can't speak out, but I can corroborate the things you've said. Can you find somebody who's not a comedian to write about this and make it more, and I couldn't. Like, I talked to famous journalists, friends of mine. You have to have 3 things of proof. That's also why I went into comedy, because I don't need any proof. I'm telling you what I saw. I'm telling you how it affects him now. You can think it's a joke.
It's so funny to me that they're like, oh, can you not have a comedian? And yet you go on every fucking talk show, right?
Right.
And it's like pundit, expert, and there's always a comedian there.
Right.
To fucking tell the truth and call people out on their bullshit. We're always there to do your fucking dirty work. And yet we're not,
right. But we get no respect. We're just a comedian.
Right.
Exactly.
What are you writing your book about?
About the stuff we talked about, and also about the positive things I've seen, because everyone knows me about the Trump stuff now, and I never wanted to be talking about him for 4 years. None of us did, but in that journey that I've had as a kid that I told you about, who found his way into the arts, I saw some incredibly inspiring things. I worked with Stevie Wonder. I worked on Barack Obama's 2 inaugurations. Like, I was in the room for things that made me know that there's a lot of love and a lot of good in this world. Right. And I also believe that arts, and the humanities have a role that's been neglected. This stuff happened
100%.
Reagan cut all that shit in the 80s. You know, they don't want people in touch with their humanity. You know, it's easier to manipulate a person that is dead to themselves.
And also dumbing people down, like George.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah. How do you get these people to attack the Capitol?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Fucking dumb, and they believe that fucking asshole.
Yeah, they believe that shit. Like he's got your back, and you're really supposed to go in there and like, you know, it's. But you need to manipulate these people. The Koch brothers did it. You know, they started that thing. You know, it was like, let's gut arts and education. So I think that kind of stuff is what I'm writing.
You know what
about.
you would be, you know what I think you would be such a great role model for kids whose parents, you know, like you talked about it, for kids whose parents are incarcerated to start some sort of buddy system, or that would be such a great thing to do.
I would love to do that. And that's why I do speak about it. Because some people are like, I can't believe you would say that. And I told you more than I've told anybody else on a podcast. I speak about that publicly in other ways, where it's in fellowships where it does help people.
Right.
You know
but you would be because just to say, hey, you're going to be okay and you're going to get through this and you're going to have a home and a partner and a life, you know? Because that's what your mother didn't have. Your mother didn't have any representation of like, no, you can still have a family and you can still have a job and you can still be gay, you know, like that was the thing. And, you know, when people feel not represented or like they don't see that they can succeed being true to themselves, you know, that's, and you don't feel fear. I mean, do you feel, have you traveled on a plane since all this shit?
I basically walked away from my industry when I started speaking out. I was offered one more Super Bowl, I think back in like 2018 or 19, and I didn't go. It was in Atlanta. So it would have been 2019.
Like, but I was wondering, because if you get stopped at the airport or anything and they're like, I'm sure there's a file on you.
No, not yet. Not like Kathy, you know, my friend Kathy.
It's so fucking, that really, the Kathy
And she
thing.
was, you know, we've been friends for a long time. You know, I was texting her when that happened, like that weekend and even yesterday, like, I'm glad that she's sort of coming back from, but no, I haven't gotten any of that kind of stuff. And I'm not at that level, obviously. Right. But, and it's not that I don't feel fear. You know, I live with self-centered fear. I have to work every day to get over my own fears. I was nervous to come on and do this podcast. You know, you made me feel wonderful and it was a great experience. But like, if you're a stand-up and you're not scared at all, I'm like, I don't know how you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but those are my fears, that I won't get my point across, that I won't be funny, you know, in a way that will mean something. And you're
just at all, you know, the more you do it, the better you get. And you know, so you got to just keep doing it, even though there's no fucking clubs open. All right. So you're the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
I always ask 2 questions before we hang up, even though this is probably the longest, but I don't care. It was so fun. No, I love it. I fucking love it. Okay. Number 1, we're very pro mental health. I suffer from depression, anxiety, but whatever, you know, my listeners are like, yeah, whatever. So what do you do for your mental health? I know you go to meetings. Anything else?
Everything I do is for my mental health. And I do go to meetings. You know, I went away for a month 15 years ago where I focused on my mental health and where I got sober. You know, I'm in recovery. Like, you're not supposed to say which one, but I'm active memory recovery. I meditate, you know, I pray, I read a lot of mental health stuff. I've gone to see a ton of counselors. I need all the help I can get. And there's no shame in it. You know, there's shame pretending it doesn't exist. You know, if you got a sprained ankle,
happens. You see what happens when it's
Exactly. It's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, you got to seek help. So I get as much help as I can. I talk to people. You know, I especially now. You know, we've all been sort of isolated for a year. You know, it's like I'm lucky that I am in recovery, like that I have a network of people to be honest about. And if I had any message to anybody, you know, suffering from that, just tell somebody, just be honest. You know, tell somebody how you're feeling and you'll share that burden. You'll instantly feel better.
Because we all
have been, Right. You'll be able to help somebody else, you know?
Okay. That's number 1. Number 2, the podcast is called Kill Me Now because I get pissed off at everything. And, So I want to know what makes you so fucking mad. Like what fucking makes you go crazy, pissed off? Like it could be anything.
Oh, animal abuse.
Oh,
When I see those videos, and I always am going to quit Twitter. I saw something on Saturday night that was like kept me up all night in horror. So animal abuse, what
the fuck? That is so that is a major, like I can't, I'm even, we're watching The Crown, and every time
they go hunting. I know.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? Like like, what the fuck?
Right. Exactly.
That one, did you the episode of The Crown where the
my favorite show. I've seen them all.
All right, we're not done yet. Don't tell me. But first of all, the one who plays Lady Di, I fucking love her.
So good, right?
So good. Like even the facial everything. All right. The one where the buffalo or whatever it is injured, and then throughout the whole episode, and then the fuck.
I know. I know. That stuff brutalizes me emotionally. I live with emotional hangovers for days, even seeing fictitious. Like I never watched Tiger King. Everybody's watching that. Yeah. I started to watch it and saw it was cats in cages. I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's so sad.
Right.
How about how he thought he was going to get a pardon? And he had to live up there.
I know.
Fucking assholes. Well, Noel, I can't thank you enough. And I hope that, when this is fucking over, we're going to be at the clubs together hanging out.
Oh man, that would be awesome. I go to the West Side Comedy Club a lot.
Oh yeah, my son worked there.
I know that's why I'm saying that.
Yeah,
I've killed in there. He's like my good luck charm. I've had some great sets when he was there.
Oh, he's adorable.
Nice
but that hasn't been open. It's not open.
I know. That was my last gig. I had a Friday night set there, and it got canceled. I stayed in New York City. Like Wednesday, I had a show at the Duplex, like in the theater on a Monday, and I stayed around, and then it was like, nope, canceled. I haven't been on stage since. It's almost
I know. It's horrible. It's horrible, but keep telling the truth. You are fucking great. And you really have a good vocabulary. I have to say that. You're really very good writer. Whatever. And say hi to your mom.
I definitely will.
Who's she with now? She was not with Ellen anymore, is she?
No, they broke up. She's in Silver Spring, Maryland. I think she's kind of single. She lives alone. Let's just put it that way,
Who doesn't? Yeah.
Exactly.
Wait, what does the girlfriend do? Your girlfriend?
Oh, she's in real estate in New York and stuff.
Oh.
We've been together 25 years off and on.
Wow.
A nice Jewish family on the Upper East Side.
Very good. Very nice, Noel. You did good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to part 2 of Kill Me Now with the one and only Noel Casler. How amazingly great is that guy, and how great is his life, unbelievable. So if you're new to the podcast because you're a fan of Noel's, please subscribe. Please leave a review. It helps so many more people find it, and then I can feel good about myself because I have low self. No, I don't have. I mean, I kind of do. But anyway, 5 stars only, please. Thank you. If you haven't purchased my book, yes, I can say that. When they come for the comedians, we're all in trouble. You're an idiot, okay? Because you're listening to my podcast, you realize that I am the most brilliant, talented, intelligent person you've ever heard. Then you want to buy my book. Yes, I can say that. When they come for the comedians, we're all in trouble. And it's also, the audiobook is really great. If you don't feel like reading, the audiobook's great. It has my voice. And you gotta lower the volume. Okay, I'm just gonna read one little review because I looked online to see, and this is a new review, and I love it. Censorship in comedy is hurting everyone! Exclamation point. Judy Gold's brilliant, hilarious way of explaining this should be read by everyone! Exclamation point. You will have a great time reading as you learn a lot about comedy history, comics lifestyles, and read so many funny jokes. I love you, Sharon, whoever you are. You are the best, okay? And the title of that review, please read this book, exclamation point. I love people who use exclamation points. Anyway, it would mean a lot to me if you would check it out. And all the order links are on my homepage of judygold.com or wherever books are sold. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram for all of my upcoming virtual and live events. I have a live event in Connecticut in March. You can follow me at Judy Gold, JEWDYGOLD, because I'm a Jew. Judy. You know what? If you're finding me annoying right now, just know that I am finding myself even more annoying, okay? But thank you all so much for listening. Stay safe, wear a mask, get the vaccine. This is going to be over soon. Please, God, please. I love you all. And as we always say, so long.
And everything was wonderful. I'll see you soon. Thank you for the visit. So long.